I never thought I'd hear my own sister plotting against me, but there I was, frozen behind the kitchen door, listening to her conspire with my mother-in-law about my future, or rather, the lack of it. April's been trying for 2 years now. Hazel's voice dripped with disdain. No grandchildren in sight. The Wheeler fortune needs proper heirs, Lisa. You understand what I'm saying, don't you? My name is April, and until that moment, I thought my biggest problem was not being able to conceive. Now I realized my infertility wasn't just a personal struggle, it was ammunition. But she's my sister. Lisa's voice wavered. And what about Jude? He loves her. Love doesn't secure legacies, Hazel replied. My son will understand in time. The family needs someone fertile, someone who can carry on the Wheeler name. I pressed my hand against my mouth, stifling a gasp. The weekly family dinner suddenly felt like a trap. The familiar scent of pot roast, now sickeningly sweet. Come in, April, Hazel called out, making me jump. The roast is getting cold. I composed myself and pushed through the door, plastering on a smile. Sorry, I was just freshening up. Lisa wouldn't meet my eyes as I took my seat. Her fingers fidgeted with her napkin, a nervous habit from childhood. Hazel, on the other hand, smiled broadly, passing the gravy boat with practiced grace. Where's Jude? I asked, noticing my husband's empty chair. Still on that work call, Hazel replied. You know how demanding his position is. The Wheeler business empire doesn't run itself. The empire that would apparently skip right over me. Actually, I set down my fork. I have some news about our fertility journey. Lisa's head snapped up, and Hazel's smile tightened. The doctor says there's a new treatment we could try, I continued, watching their reactions. Jude and I have been discussing it. Treatments are expensive, Hazel cut in, and often disappointing. Maybe it's time to accept that some women aren't meant to be mothers. The words hit like a slap. I'd heard cruel things before, but never so blatantly from family. Hazel! Lisa gasped. What? Someone needs to be practical here. Hazel dabbed her lips with her napkin. The Wheeler legacy is at stake. Just then, Jude walked in, his tie loosened after his call. What legacy are we talking about? Your mother was just explaining how I'm not worthy of it, I said, standing up. The chair scraped against the hardwood floor. April, don't be dramatic, Hazel scolded. I'm simply being realistic about our family's future. Jude moved to my side, his hand finding the small of my back. Mother, what's going on? Nothing, darling. April's just sensitive about her condition. I turned to face my husband. Did you know your mother's been planning to write me out of the family inheritance because I can't have children? The silence that followed was deafening. Jude's face darkened as he looked between his mother and me. That's not possible, he said finally. The trust is ironclad. Grandfather made sure of it. Hazel's composure cracked slightly. There are ways, dear. Legal ways. For the good of the family. The good of the family. Jude's voice rose. April is family. For now, Hazel muttered, but we all heard it. I grabbed my purse from the counter. I think I need some air. April, wait, Lisa called after me, but I was already heading for the door. Let her go, I heard Hazel say. She needs to accept reality. Outside, the cool evening air hit my face, and I pulled out my phone. With trembling fingers, I dialed a number I never thought I'd need. Walker Hanson's office, a voice answered. Walker, it's April Wheeler. Remember when you said to call if I ever needed financial advice? Well, I need more than advice. I need a plan. Of course, April. When would you like to meet? I looked back at the house, where I could see shadows moving behind the curtains. Tomorrow. First thing, as I hung up, a new sense of determination settled over me. Hazel thought she could push me out? She had no idea what I was capable of. This wasn't just about money anymore. It was about respect, family, and justice. And I was going to fight for all three. Walker's office felt like a sanctuary compared to the chaos of the past 24 hours. He listened intently as I explained everything, his expression growing more serious with each detail. So your mother-in-law wants to divert your inheritance to your sister? He leaned forward, fingers steepled. That's ambitious of her. She thinks she's found a legal loophole, I said, clutching my coffee cup. Something about heirs and bloodlines. There's always someone who thinks they've found a loophole. Walker pulled out a thick folder. But your father-in-law was thorough when he set up the trust. Let me show you something. He spread several documents across his desk. See this clause? It specifically protects spousal rights, regardless of children. Hazel can't touch your portion without your signature. Relief flooded through me, but it was short-lived. She'll find another way. She always does. Then we'll be smarter, Walker said, pulling out a fresh legal pad. I have some ideas that could protect your interests permanently. As we discussed strategies, my phone buzzed. Jude's face lit up the screen. I hesitated before answering. Where are you? His voice was tight with worry. Mother's been calling all morning, trying to apologize. I'm handling some business, I replied, watching Walker sketch out a financial flowchart. And I don't want her apologies. April, please, come home so we can talk about this. I'll be home later. I ended the call, turning back to Walker. What's next? He slid a document across the desk. First, we establish your own trust, independent of the Wheeler estate. It's perfectly legal and will give you complete control. As I read through the paperwork, a wave of nausea hit me. I gripped the edge of his desk, breathing deeply. Are you all right? Walker asked, concerned. Just stressed, I managed, but something clicked in my mind. I'd been feeling off for weeks, but with everything happening, I need to make a stop before going home, I told Walker, gathering my things. How soon can we implement these changes? Give me 2 days to prepare everything, but April? He caught my eye. Be careful. Family disputes over money can turn ugly fast. An hour later, I sat in my car outside the pharmacy, staring at the pregnancy test in my hands. 2 pink lines. Clear as day. My hands shook as I called my doctor's office, scheduling an immediate appointment. By late afternoon, it was confirmed. I was 8 weeks pregnant. The irony wasn't lost on me. After years of trying, countless treatments, and now, just when Hazel had decided I was barren, my phone buzzed again. Lisa's name flashed on the screen. April, I'm so sorry, she blurted before I could speak. I never should have listened to Hazel. The things she said. Save it, I cut her off. You chose your side. No, please listen. She's been talking to lawyers, looking for ways to challenge the trust. She's obsessed with this idea of proper heirs. I touched my still flat stomach, a plan forming. Is she now? I should have told you sooner. She made it sound so reasonable at first, about preserving the family legacy. And what about preserving our relationship, Lisa? Did that matter at all? The silence on the other end spoke volumes. I want to make this right, she finally said. Then prove it. Tell me everything Hazel's planning. After hanging up, I sat in my car, processing everything. The pregnancy, the trust, Hazel's schemes. I should have felt overwhelmed, but instead, I felt strangely calm. For the first time, I had real power. Not just legal documents, but the one thing Hazel wanted most. My phone buzzed one more time. A text from Walker. Documents will be ready tomorrow. Are you sure about this? I typed back quickly. Absolutely. And Walker? There's been a development. I'll need to add one more name to that trust. As I drove home, I thought about how to play this. Hazel wanted an heir. She'd get one. but not on her terms. The baby growing inside me was my ace in the hole, and for now, it would remain my secret. Let Hazel think she was winning. Let her plot and scheme. I had time on my side, and soon I'd have everything legally locked down. Then, when the moment was right, I'd show her exactly what kind of woman she was dealing with. I pulled into our driveway, spotting Jude's car. Time to face my husband. He deserved to know about the trust changes, but the baby? That news could wait. After all, timing was everything, and I was just getting started. The next few weeks were a delicate dance of deception. Morning sickness became my constant companion, but I blamed it on stress whenever Jude asked. The guilt of keeping this secret from him gnawed at me, but every time I considered telling him, Hazel would make another move that reminded me why I needed to wait. Like today's casual lunch invitation. "April, darling, you've barely touched your salad," Hazel cooed across the restaurant table. "Are you still upset about our little disagreement?" I forced myself to spear a cherry tomato. "Just not hungry." "Well, I wanted to discuss something important." She reached into her designer handbag. "I've been thinking about the family's future." "Have you?" I kept my voice neutral, though my stomach churned, and not just from morning sickness. She slid a document across the table. "This is a draft of a new arrangement. Very generous, I think. It would give you a comfortable settlement if you and Jude were to part ways." My fork clattered against the plate. "Are you trying to buy me out of my marriage?" "I'm being practical. You're young, April. You could start fresh, find someone more compatible." Before I could respond, a familiar voice cut through the tension. "Mom? April? What a surprise." Sophia, my sister-in-law, stood by our table. I'd never been so grateful to see her. "We were just having a private discussion," Hazel said sharply. "Perfect timing." I grabbed my purse. "I was just leaving. Sophia, walk me out." Outside, Sophia grabbed my arm. "What was that about? You looked ready to throw your water in Mum's face." "Your mother's trying to orchestrate my divorce," I laughed bitterly. "Complete with a payment plan. She's gone too far this time." Sophia shook her head. "You know she's been meeting with estate lawyers, right? I overheard her on the phone yesterday." "Did you hear anything specific?" "Something about biological heirs and trust conditions. April, she's serious about this." I touched my stomach instinctively, then caught myself. "I need to make a call." Once Sophia left, I ducked into my car and called Lisa. "She did what?" Lisa's voice cracked. "A divorce settlement? That's insane." "Still think she's being reasonable?" I asked. "No, Lisa hesitated. "Look, there's something else. She asked me to meet with her lawyer next week. Something about signing papers as a potential beneficiary." "And will you?" "I don't know." "April, I feel sick about all this. Maybe I should tell Jude." "Don't," I cut in. "Not yet. Just keep me informed." After hanging up, I drove to Walker's office. He needed to know about this latest development. His secretary waved me straight in. "Perfect timing. I was about to call you." Walker looked up from his computer. "You're not going to believe what I found. Hazel's been busy. There's a paper trail of her meetings with 3 different estate lawyers." "Looking for someone to help her break the trust?" "Yes. But here's the interesting part." He turned his monitor toward me. "She's also been inquiring about genetic testing requirements for inheritance claims." My blood ran cold. "She wants proof that any future children are actually Wheelers." "Exactly. But our new trust structure makes that irrelevant. Everything's in place now. Your assets are protected, and once you're ready to reveal your pregnancy..." A wave of dizziness hit me. Walker quickly grabbed a water bottle from his mini-fridge. "Thanks," I said, sipping slowly. "I just need to hold out a little longer. Let her think she's winning." Speaking of winning, Walker pulled out another document. You should see this. It's a copy of what she's planning to present to the family board next month. I scanned the pages, my anger rising with each paragraph. Hazel had detailed every possible way to challenge my position in the family, including some surprisingly personal attacks. She's been watching me, I realized, documenting everything, even my doctor's appointments, which makes your pregnancy all the more powerful when revealed. She's building her case on your supposed infertility. I stood up, suddenly feeling energized despite my nausea. Keep those documents safe. We'll need them later. Where are you going? To see my sister. It's time to find out exactly whose side she's really on. As I drove to Lisa's house, I thought about the baby growing inside me. Hazel wanted proof of Wheeler blood? She'd get it, along with proof that she'd picked the wrong daughter-in-law to mess with. My phone buzzed with a text from Jude. Mother wants us all for dinner tonight, says it's important. Perfect. Let Hazel gather her pieces on the board. Soon enough, she'd learn that while she was playing checkers, I'd been playing chess all along, and I was about to make my next move. Lisa's face crumpled when she opened her door. I've been trying to call you. I know. I brushed past her into her living room. But we need to talk in person. April, I can't do this anymore. Lisa collapsed onto her couch. Hazel came by this morning with more paperwork. She wants me to sign something about being a contingent beneficiary. I sat across from her, studying my sister's face. The guilt was eating her alive. Good. Did you sign it? No, I told her I needed time to think. Lisa wrung her hands. She's not who I thought she was. The things she's saying about you, the plans she's making. Tell me everything. She wants to present evidence to the family board that your marriage to Jude was... Lisa swallowed hard. Strategic. That you knew about your fertility issues before the wedding but hid them. My laugh was sharp. Of course she does. This isn't funny, April. She's trying to destroy you. No. I leaned forward. She's trying to control me. There's a difference. Lisa's eyes widened. You have a plan, don't you? That's why you're so calm. Before I could respond, my phone buzzed. A text from Sophia. Mom's called an emergency family dinner tonight. Something big is happening. I saw that look, Lisa said. What's going on? I stood up, smoothing my dress. Come to dinner tonight. You'll want to see this. April, wait. Lisa grabbed my arm. I need to know. Can you ever forgive me? I turned to face her, remembering all our years growing up together, all the times she'd had my back before Hazel got in her head. That depends on what you do next, I said softly. Choose carefully, Lisa. Family loyalty goes both ways. Hours later, I arrived at the Wheeler mansion for dinner. Jude met me at the door, his face tense. Mother's been in her study all afternoon with her lawyer, he whispered, kissing my cheek. Whatever this is about, it's serious. When isn't it? I squeezed his hand, fighting back a wave of nausea. This pregnancy was determined to make its presence known at the worst moments. The dining room was already full. Sophia sat with her husband, while Lisa perched nervously on a chair near the window. Hazel stood at the head of the table, practically glowing with satisfaction. April, dear, so glad you could join us. Her smile was razor-sharp. I have some important announcements to make. Before you start, I cut in, I have something to say. Hazel's smile faltered. This really can't wait. I know about the lawyers, Hazel. The room fell silent. I know about the trust challenges, the genetic testing requirements, all of it. How dare you! I also know about the divorce settlement you tried to offer me at lunch. I turned to Jude, whose face had gone pale. Your mother thinks she can buy me off. Mother? Jude's voice was dangerous. Is this true? Everything I've done is for this family's future, Hazel snapped. A A future that requires proper heirs, not some barren— That's enough! Lisa stood up suddenly. I won't help you hurt my sister anymore. I'm done. Hazel's face reddened. Sit down, Lisa. You signed an agreement. No, I didn't. Lisa moved to stand beside me. And I won't. Then you'll regret it, Hazel snarled, pulling out a thick envelope. Because, as of today, the trust conditions are changing. I have documentation proving— Actually, I interrupted, you don't have anything. The trust is ironclad, remember? But more importantly— I paused, letting the moment build. I have something you don't. And what's that? I locked eyes with her, savoring the moment. Proof that everything you've been planning is based on a lie, but that can wait until dessert. Wouldn't want to spoil the meal, would we? Hazel's hands shook as she gripped her envelope. Jude looked between us, confusion and anger warring on his face. Sophia leaned forward, eyes bright with interest, while Lisa stood firmly by my side. The stage was set. My evidence was safely with Walker. My new trust was established, and my secret was still safely hidden. Let Hazel make her announcements. By the end of this dinner, everything would change. I took my seat, ignoring the churning in my stomach. Shall we eat? The tension during dinner was thick enough to cut with the sterling silver knives laid out before us. Hazel kept shooting daggers at me between bites of her roast, while Jude pushed his food around his plate, lost in thought. More wine, April? Hazel offered, her smile not reaching her eyes. No, thank you. I touched my water glass. I'm avoiding alcohol these days. Sophia's eyebrows shot up, but she quickly looked down at her plate. She'd always been the perceptive one. Health kick? Hazel's voice dripped with sarcasm. How admirable. Mother, Jude warned. Enough. Oh, but we're just getting started. Hazel dabbed her lips with her napkin and stood. Since April's so eager to discuss family matters, let's begin. She distributed copies of a document around the table. As you can see, I've had our lawyers draft a new amendment to the family trust. It simply clarifies certain requirements for beneficiaries. Lisa's hand shook as she picked up her copy. This is horrible, she whispered. It's necessary, Hazel corrected. The Wheeler legacy must be protected. By requiring DNA tests for all future children. Sophia's voice was incredulous. Mother, this is insane. Actually, I reached for my purse. I have some documents of my own to share. Hazel's face tightened. This isn't the time. I think it's the perfect time. I pulled out the folder Walker had prepared. These are copies of all your meetings with various estate lawyers over the past month, including some very interesting notes about your plans to have me removed from the family. Jude snatched up the papers, his face darkening as he read. Mother, what have you done? Only what needed to be done. Hazel slammed her hand on the table. This woman has failed to provide an heir. She's destroying everything your father built. No, Lisa stood up again. You're the one destroying things. I've watched you manipulate and scheme, and I won't be part of it anymore. Sit down, Hazel hissed. You have no idea what you're giving up. She knows exactly what she's doing, I said, reaching for my sister's hand. She's choosing family over greed. The dining room door opened, and Walker stepped in. Am I interrupting? Who let you in? Hazel demanded. I did, Sophia said. April asked me to make sure he could join us for dessert. Walker placed his briefcase on the table. I have some documents that might interest everyone, particularly regarding the original trust conditions and Mrs. Wheeler's recent, creative interpretations of them. This is a private family matter. Hazel stood, her face flushed. Sit down, Mother. Jude's voice was steel. I want to hear everything. Walker began laying out papers. First, there's the matter of the original trust, which explicitly protects spousal rights. Then we have evidence of attempted tampering, including these recorded conversations with various lawyers. As Walker spoke, I watched Hazel's face grow paler. Her carefully constructed plan was unraveling thread by thread. "There's more," I added, nodding to Walker. He pulled out another document. "This is a new, separate trust established by April. It's already been funded and approved, completely independent of the Wheeler Family Trust." "You can't do that," Hazel sputtered. "I already have." I met her eyes across the table. "Everything I've earned, everything I've built, it's protected now. From you." "This is ridiculous." Hazel turned to Jude. "Are you going to let her do this?" Jude picked up the papers, reading carefully. "Did you really try to buy her off with a divorce settlement?" The silence was damning. "I think," Sophia said quietly, "we all need to take a step back and—" A sudden wave of dizziness hit me, stronger than before. I gripped the table edge, breathing deeply. "April?" Lisa squeezed my shoulder. "Are you okay?" "I'm fine," I managed, but the room was spinning slightly. "No, you're not." Sophia was suddenly beside me, her hand on my forehead. "You're pale as a ghost." Jude knelt next to my chair, concern replacing anger. "Should we call a doctor?" "No," I said, straightening up. "But there is something else you all need to know. Something that makes all of Hazel's plans completely pointless." "What are you talking about?" Hazel demanded. I looked at my husband, then at my sister, and finally at Hazel. The moment I'd been waiting for had arrived sooner than planned, but maybe that was for the best. "Well," I said, my hand instinctively moving to my stomach, "it seems your concerns about heirs were a bit premature." The room went absolutely still as understanding dawned on their faces, all except Hazel, who looked like she'd been struck by lightning. "No," she whispered. "You can't be." I smiled, feeling stronger by the second. "Oh, but I am." "How far along?" Jude's voice was barely a whisper as he gripped my hand. 8 weeks, I said softly. "I found out the day after, well, after I overheard Hazel's plans." 8 weeks? Hazel's voice cracked. "You've known for weeks and said nothing." "Can you blame her?" Sophia shot back. "Look at how you've been behaving." Jude hadn't moved, his eyes fixed on my still flat stomach. "We're having a baby? After all this time?" "Yes," I squeezed his hand. "I wanted to tell you, but she needed leverage," Hazel cut in, her shock turning to anger. "She manipulated all of us." "That's rich coming from you," Lisa snapped. "After everything you've done?" Walker cleared his throat. "Perhaps we should discuss the legal implications of this development." "Legal implications?" Hazel laughed bitterly. "Oh yes, let's discuss those. How convenient that you suddenly become pregnant just when the inheritance is threatened." Jude stood up so quickly, his chair toppled backward. "That's enough, Mother. You've gone too far." "Have I?" Hazel pulled another document from her pile. "Then explain why your wife has been secretly meeting with doctors for months. Planning this, no doubt." "Those were fertility treatments," I said calmly, "which you knew about because you've been having me followed." The room fell silent again. Sophia gasped. "You had her followed?" Jude's voice was dangerous. "My wife? Your own daughter-in-law? I was protecting our family." "No." I stood up, steadier now. "You were protecting your control. But here's what you don't understand, Hazel. I have proof of everything. The surveillance, the lawyer meetings, the attempts to bribe Lisa, the divorce settlement, everything." Walker opened his briefcase again. "Including recorded conversations with your private investigator. Quite detailed reports." "You recorded me?" Hazel's face went white. "No, your investigator recorded you." Amazing what people will share when they realize they're working for someone unethical. Lisa moved closer to me. Is that why you kept the pregnancy secret? To catch her? Partly, I admitted, but also because I needed time to protect myself and the baby, to make sure Hazel couldn't interfere. The new trust, Sophia realized. It's for the baby, isn't it? I nodded. Among other things, it ensures that no one can use my child as a pawn in their games. Games? Hazel slammed her hand down. This is about legacy, about protecting what we've built. No, Jude's voice was firm. This was about control, and it ends now. He turned to Walker. What do we need to do to ensure my wife and child are protected? Everything's already in place, Walker replied. The new trust is established, and with April's pregnancy documented, all of Mrs. Wheeler's recent legal maneuvers are effectively nullified. You planned this perfectly, didn't you? Hazel's voice was quiet now, dangerous. Turned my own family against me. You did that yourself, Sophia said. We watched you try to destroy April, all while claiming it was for the family. The board will hear about this, Hazel threatened. Yes, they will. I pulled out my phone. In fact, I've already scheduled a meeting. They're very interested in hearing about your attempts to manipulate the family trust. Jude finally turned to face his mother. You need to leave. Now. Jude. Now, Mother. We'll discuss your role in this family's future another time. Hazel gathered her papers with shaking hands. At the door, she turned back. This isn't over. Actually, I called after her, it is. And Hazel, I'd start looking for a new private investigator. Yours works for me now. After she left, the tension in the room deflated like a balloon. Jude pulled me into his arms, his hand finding my stomach. A baby, he whispered. We're really having a baby. Lisa wiped tears from her eyes. I'm going to be an aunt. And I'm going to be the fun aunt, Sophia added, making us laugh. Walker began packing up his documents. I'll file everything first thing tomorrow. No one will be able to touch your inheritance or the baby's future. As everyone celebrated around me, I felt the weight of the past few weeks lifting. My hand joined Jude's on my stomach, where our little secret was growing stronger every day. The game was over, and I had won. But more importantly, I had protected what mattered most, my family's future, on my own terms. Now we could focus on what really mattered. Bringing a new life into the world, one that would never know the taste of manipulation or conditional love. The board meeting room felt colder than usual as I sat between Jude and Walker, facing the stern faces of the Wheeler family's executive board. Hazel sat opposite us, her perfect posture betraying no emotion, but her white-knuckled grip on her water glass told a different story. Let me be clear, the board chairman leaned forward. You're alleging that Mrs. Wheeler attempted to manipulate the family trust through illegal means. Not alleging, Walker replied, sliding a thick folder across the polished table. Proving. The chairman opened the folder, his eyebrows rising as he read. Private investigators? Attempted coercion? This is disturbing. It's all lies, Hazel interjected. April's trying to secure her position now that she's conveniently pregnant. Convenient? Jude's voice was sharp. Mother, do you have any idea what we went through with fertility treatments? The pain, the disappointment? The medical records are in there, I added quietly, along with documentation of how Hazel used our struggles against us. The board members passed the documents among themselves, their expressions growing darker with each page. And this new trust you've established? Another board member asked. That's separate from family holdings? Yes, Walker confirmed. Created solely to protect April and her child's interests, given the hostile environment. Hostile? Hazel laughed bitterly. I was protecting our legacy. By having me followed? I pulled out my phone, playing a recording. Hazel's voice filled the room, instructing her investigator to document my every move, every medical appointment. The colour drained from her face. "Mrs. Wheeler," the chairman's voice was ice. "Did you authorize surveillance on your daughter-in-law?" I had concerns about her motives. Her motives? Sophia stood up from her seat in the back. What about yours? I have proof of you meeting with Lisa, trying to turn her against her own sister. Lisa, who sat quietly beside her, nodded. I'm willing to testify about everything she promised me in exchange for helping her break the trust. The chairman held up his hand. I think we've seen enough. This board has a responsibility to protect not just the family's assets, but its integrity. Exactly. Hazel straightened. And April has done nothing wrong. He cut her off. You, on the other hand, have demonstrated a disturbing pattern of behavior that threatens both the family's legal standing and its reputation. Jude squeezed my hand under the table as the chairman continued. Effective immediately, you are removed from all positions of authority within the family trust and companies. Your personal shares will remain intact, but you will have no voting power or decision-making authority. You can't do this! Hazel stood, shaking. I am a Wheeler. And I'm carrying the next Wheeler, I said, standing as well. One who will never know what it's like to have their worth measured by their ability to produce heirs. Furthermore, the chairman added, the board fully supports April's new independent trust. Given the circumstances, it's a prudent measure. Hazel turned to Jude, her last hope. Son, please. Everything I did was for you, for our family. Jude stood slowly. No, Mother. Everything you did was for control, and now you've lost it all. Security will escort you out. The chairman nodded to the guards at the door. Your personal effects will be sent home. As Hazel was led away, she turned back one last time. You'll regret this. All of you. The only regret, I called after her, is that it took us this long to see you for who you really are. After she left, the room erupted in discussion. Board members approached us with congratulations about the baby and assurances of their support. Lisa hugged me tightly, whispering apologies again, while Sophia chatted with Walker about finalizing the legal details. Are you okay? Jude asked quietly, his arm around my waist. Better than okay, I smiled, touching my stomach. For the first time, I feel like we can actually enjoy this pregnancy without looking over our shoulders. About that, the chairman approached us smiling. The board would like to establish an education trust for the baby, completely separate from family holdings, of course, a fresh start for the next generation. As we left the building, Lisa caught up with us. April, wait. I know I don't deserve it, but I want to be part of my niece or nephew's life. I want to make things right. I looked at my sister, seeing genuine remorse in her eyes. We'll take it one day at a time. The sunlight felt warmer somehow as we stepped outside. Hazel's car was gone from the parking lot, along with the shadow she'd cast over our lives. Ready to go home? Jude asked. Yes, I said, thinking of the nursery we could finally start planning. Let's go home. The nursery walls were halfway painted when Sophia burst in, waving her phone. You need to see this. I carefully set down my roller brush, my now visible baby bump making it harder to maneuver. What's wrong? Mother's selling her house, Sophia said, showing me the real estate listing. She's moving across the country. Jude stepped down from his ladder, where he'd been edging the ceiling. When did this happen? The listing went up this morning. She didn't tell anyone. I sat in the antique rocking chair we'd just restored, processing the news. Has anyone heard from her since the board meeting? Not directly, Sophia sighed. But her lawyer sent notice that she's liquidating her non-family assets. I guess this is really happening. The doorbell rang, and moments later, Lisa appeared in the doorway, looking flustered. Did you see? We just found out, I nodded. How are you feeling about it? Relieved, mostly. Lisa joined me by the window, watching leaves dance across our lawn, but also sad. Not for her exactly, but for what could have been. Jude's phone buzzed. It's Walker. The final trust paperwork is ready for signatures. Perfect timing, I said, struggling to get up from the rocker. Both Lisa and Sophia reached to help me, making me laugh. I'm pregnant, not invalid. Speaking of which, Sophia grinned, are we finally going to learn if I'm getting a niece or nephew? At tomorrow's appointment, Jude confirmed, helping me with my coat, assuming this little one cooperates with the ultrasound. At Walker's office, the mood was light as we signed the final documents. Lisa and Sophia served as witnesses, their signatures making it official. The new trust was ironclad, protecting both my child's future and my position in the family. One last thing, Walker said, pulling out an envelope. This came from Hazel's lawyer this morning. My hands shook slightly as I opened it. Inside was a single page. April, you won. I underestimated you, and I've paid the price. I'm leaving to start fresh somewhere else. Perhaps distance will give us all perspective. Take care of my grandchild. Hazel. That's it? Lisa peered over my shoulder. No apology? From Mother, Sophia scoffed. This is practically a surrender. Jude read the note, his jaw tight. It's better than nothing. At least she's acknowledging the baby. Speaking of acknowledging things, I turned to Lisa. I've been thinking, would you like to help me finish the nursery? There's a lot of work left, and I could use my sister's eye for design. Lisa's eyes welled up. Really? You mean it? Family is family, I said simply, even when it's complicated. Back home, as Lisa and Sophia argued playfully about color schemes and furniture placement, I found Jude staring at old family photos in the hallway. Having regrets? I asked softly. He turned, pulling me close. Only that I didn't see what was happening sooner, that I let her hurt you for so long. We all played our parts, I said, feeling our baby kick. But now we get to write our own story. April, Sophia called from the nursery. Come settle a debate. Lisa wants to do a forest theme, but I'm thinking space exploration. What do you think, little one? I rubbed my belly. Forest or space? The baby kicked again, making Jude laugh. I think that's a vote for space. As we rejoined our sisters in the nursery, I looked around at the half-painted walls, the scattered brushes, the paint swatches, and fabric samples spread across the floor. This chaos was real family, messy, imperfect, but bound by love rather than obligation. You know what? I picked up my paint roller. Maybe we combine both themes. After all, who says we have to choose just one path? Lisa's face lit up. A magical forest under the stars, that's perfect. As we worked together, laughing and planning, I realized that victory wasn't just about winning against Hazel. It was about creating something new from the ashes of what was broken. Our child would grow up surrounded by authentic love, not manipulation. They would know their worth came from who they were, not what they could provide. The late afternoon sun streamed through the windows, casting long shadows across our work in progress. There would be more challenges ahead, more stories to write, more bridges to build or burn. But for now, in this moment, watching my husband and sisters transform this room into a sanctuary for new beginnings, I knew we had already won the most important battle. We had broken the cycle, and that was worth more than any inheritance.